Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day: If you are grateful, I will give you more. Allah Rabbul Izzat said in the Quran. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Dr. Marina Akhtar, PGR, Community Medicine. Today my topic of presentation is scope of medical statistics, concept of data and variables, classification of data. I am presenting this topic under the kind supervision of my professor, Dr. Saira Afzal. Learning outlines. Introduction to biostatistics, role of biostatistics, application of biostatistics in public health, data and variable concept, type of data and variable, recent updates, and MCQs. Learning outcomes. By the end of this presentation, participants would be able to describe introduction of biostatistics and its role in public health, concept of data and variable, and type of data or variable. What is statistics? Statistics is the summary of information or data in a meaningful fashion. Its appropriate presentation. Statistics is the study and manipulation of the data, including ways to gather, review, analyze, and draw conclusion from data. Biostatistics is the segment of statistics that deal with the data arising from biological processes or medical experiments. It all start with data. Biostatistics. Biostatistics usually comprise of following basic step: formation of hypothesis, collection of data, and application of statistical analysis. The discipline of biostatistics cover the study of biological experiments and reading, the collection, summarization, evaluation of data from these experiments. Biostatistics also involves the formation and application of the most suitable method for the compilation of data, demonstration of the assembled data, evaluation and perception of results, making judgments on principle of such analysis. Types of biostatistics. There are two main types: descriptive biostatistics and inferential biostatistics. Descriptive biostatistics deal with the concepts and methods concerned with the summarization and description of important aspects of the numerical data. Inferential biostatistics deal with the procedure for making inferences about the characteristics of the large group of population by using a part of the data called sample population. Formulation of the hypothesis, data analysis, and reporting statistical significance is an essential part of inferential statistics. Role of biostatistics. The ultimate objective of the biostatistics is to improve the health and the quality of life of individual within a community or population. The main role of biostatistics are as follows: to diagnose the disease and treatment strategy with an estimation of its effect, to determine risk factor of the disease, to design, monitor, evaluate, interpret, and record the result of clinical studies, to measure, locate, and explain the extent of disease, to develop statistical methods to give satisfactory answers to the questions that arise from public health data. Application of biostatistics in community medicine and public health. The role of biostatistics in community medicine and public health can be highlighted and summarized in following key points: to assess the potency of antibodies and vaccines in the field, in demographical and epidemiological studies, the position of original factors is statistically verified, to test whether the variation between two populations is true or a chance incident, to survey the interrelationship between the traces in the same population, and to measure morbidity and fatality, and to evaluate the performance of the public health programs, to establish priorities in the public health programs, to help develop health regulation and initiate administrative measures for oral health. It cooperates in the collection of data, drawing conclusions, and generating orders for graduates of medicine and dentistry. By reviewing the structures in the biostatistics, a student learns to seriously evaluate articles reported in therapeutic and dental journals or papers read in medical and dental conferences, to understand the essential methods of measurement in clinical practice and research. Role of biostatistics in the evaluation and in the health planning. Biostatistics mainly cover biological sciences specifically from the field of medicine and public health. Biostatistical methods are used for planning, conducting, and analyzing data that comes into being from the branches of medicine and public health. It deals with the summarization and interpretation of the data to get valid and reliable conclusion, and also analyze the positive or negative outcomes health programs or policies in our community. Data. Data refers to the set of values which are usually organized by variables, what is being measured, and observational units, member of the sample and population. An example of data is a data matrix in a spreadsheet program such as Excel or SPSS. Along the upper horizontal line, there are variables, for example, survey question, and down the first vertical line, there are observation, for example, people. In each cell, there are values is given in the observational units is the value of a given variable. For example, in this sheet, in upper horizontal line, these are variables, and in lower columns, there is the data in that boxes. Variables. An attribute that describe a person or object. A variable is any characteristic, number, or quantity that can be measured or counted. Two is an attribute that varies from one person to another. Variable and data. The scientific investigations involve observation on variables. The observation made on these variables are obtained in the form of data. Data and variables are not exact but used frequently as synonyms. The variables can also be called as data items. Classification of variables. Variables are classified into quantitative variables and categorical or qualitative variables. And quantitative variables are also called numeric variables. These are further divided into continuous variable and discrete variable. And qualitative variables are divided into ordinal variables and nominal variables. Numeric variables. Numeric variables have values that describe a measurable quantity as a number like how many, how much. Therefore, numeric variables are quantitative variables. Numeric variables may be further described as either continuous or discrete. Continuous variable. Continuous are those variables that can take any value within a certain range. There are no gap between the successive value of variable. For example, consider the height of the plant as variable x. In real situation, the height of the plant may be 10 centimeter, 10.1 centimeter, 10.5 centimeter, 10.8 centimeter, 11 centimeter, etc. Thus, between two whole numbers, there are here 10 and 11, there are numerous possible values. Such a variable is called continuous variable. For example, height, weight, length, and speed. Continuous data can be further classified as interval and ratio. Interval when it does not have any absolute zero, and negative numbers also have meaning, such as for a temperature in degrees Celsius variable. A ratio when it does have an absolute zero, and a negative number don't have meaning, such as for height variable. Discrete variable. Discrete variables are also called discontinuous variables. Here the value which variable can assume a limited to whole number only, for example 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And there will be gap between the successive values of variables. For example, consider the number of petals in a flower as a discrete variable x. In the real situation, the number of petals in a flower may be 4 or 5 or 6 of any whole number. There will be not a variable such as 5.5 petals or 4.2 petals. Such variables are called discrete variables and or discontinuous variable. Example, number of brothers, number of petals, etc. Categorical or qualitative variables. They have values that describe a quality or characteristic of the data unit, like what type or which category. Categorical variables are unmeasurable variables. They are also called as non-numerical or qualitative variables since they give qualitative data. For example, color of flower, shape of leaves, shape of seed, etc. Categorical variables are then further classified into nominal variable or ordinal variable. Ordinal variables. Categorical variables may be further described as a ordinal or nominal. An ordinal variable is a categorical variable. Observation can take a value that can be logically ordered or ranked. The categories associated with the ordinal variable can be ranked higher or lower than another, but do not necessarily establish a numeric difference between each category. Example of ordinal categorical variable include academic grade, ABC, clothing size, small, medium, large, extra large, and attitude, strongly agree, agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. Nominal variable. A nominal variable is a categorical variable or observation can take a value that is not able to be organized in a logical sequence. For example, nominal categorical variable include gender, male or female, business type, eye color, black, brown, blue, religion, and brand. The data collected for categorical variables are qualitative data. Classification of variables based on source of the data. Data or variable are for the two types on the based on source of the data. It is primary data and secondary data. Primary data. The data originally collected in the process of investigation by the investigator is called primary data. Primary data are more accurate and uniform. Primary data involve the supervision of the investigation. In primary data, collection is time and the labor consuming. Biological studies, particularly experimental studies, primarily depend upon primary data. Secondary data. Secondary data is the data collected by some other person or organization for their own use. It is the data that already in existence for the same or other purpose than answering of the question in hand. Secondary data are usually published data by primary investigator. Getting the secondary data is advantageous since it is less expensive and less time consuming. Secondary data is frequently used in disciplines such as economic, commerce, agriculture, public health. Examples are population census data, national mortality rate, annual rainfall, budget record. Research result published in the reputed journals can also act as secondary data. Independent and dependent variables. When using bivariate analysis to test for relationship between pairs of variables, you will usually have one independent and one dependent variable. The independent variable, otherwise known as predictor variable, is one that potentially influences, affects, or predict the other variable. For example, if you are investigating whether age influences income, the age is the independent variable. The dependent variable, otherwise known as outcome variable, is the one that is potentially influenced, affected, and predicted. For example, if you are investigating whether income can be predicted by age, then income is the dependent variable. Independent and dependent variable. The independent variable, sometimes also called explanatory variable, is something which is not affected by the experiment itself, but which can be manipulated or affect the dependent variable. Other terms sometimes used synonymously include blocking variable, covariate, and predictor variable. Confounding variables. Confounding variables are extra variables which can have an effect on the experiment. They are linked with dependent and independent variables and can cause a spurious association. For example, in a clinical trial for topical treatment in psoriasis, the concomitant use of moisturizer might be confounding variable. A control variable is the variable that must be kept constant during the course of experiment. Now coming to recent updates. Our first article is uncontrolled control variable. The extent that a researcher's degree of the freedom with control variables increase various type of statistical errors. researchers have increasingly warned about the p-hacking and the improper use of control variable. This paper considered the risk that a researcher's degree of freedom with respect to the use of control variables has an probability of type 1 and type 2 error. We also examined the extent that control variable can make marginal effect size for that is non-zero effect but less than should be statistically significant appear significant, which we refer to as type 3 error, and how much control variable use can increase effect size. We report the result of 2 computer simulations that include up to 10 control variables. We find that the inappropriate use of control variables is not really a risk for type 1 error, given that the chance of there being truly a null effect in a typical multivariate analysis is very low. We also show that use of control variables does not have a large effect on type 2 error, and that the practice of running analysis both with and without control variables will most often yield the same conclusion in the both analyses. That said, we did find p-hacking substantially increases the probability of inappropriate being able to detect statistical significance if we notably increase the effect size. The practice of running analysis both with and without control variables can indeed reveal the potential for p-hacking, and discrepant result between bivariate and multivariate analysis suggests that authors need to carefully and clearly explain why noted differences are theoretically and logically appropriate. Keynotes of this article show that this study show that misusing control variables can make weak or even non-existent effect look important, leading to misleading scientific conclusions. Researchers should be carefully and transparent when using control variable to avoid manipulation of results. Second article is omitted variable bias, examining management research with the impact threshold of a confounding variable. Management research increasingly recognize omitted variables as a primary source of endogeneity that can induce bias in empirical estimation. Methodological scholarship on the topic overwhelming advocates for empirical researchers to employ two-stage instrumental variable modeling. A recommendation we approach with a trepidation given the challenges associated with analytic procedure. Over the course of the two studies, the leverage a statistical technique called the impact threshold of confounding variable, ITCV, to better conceptualize that what type of omitted variable might actually bias causal inference and whether they have appeared to do so in published management research. Study 1, we apply ITCV to published studies and find that the majority of the causal inference is unlikely biased from omitted variable. In study 2, we re-specify an influential stimulation on endogeneity and determine that only the most pervasive omitted variable appear to substantially impact causal inference. Overstimulation also revealed that only the strong guess instrument, perhaps unrealistically strong, attenuate bias in a meaningful way. Taken together, we offer guidelines how scholars can conceptualize omitted variables in their research, provide a practical approach that balance the trade-offs associated with instrumental variable model, and comprehensively describe how to implement ITCV technique. The keynotes in these articles are: this study suggests that not all omitted variables are serious problem in research. Instead of always using complex instrumental variable models, researchers can use the ITCV method to assess whether missing variable actually affect their result. This makes research more reliable and practical. Now coming to our MCQ session. MCQ number 1 is: a public health officer classifies cities based on their air quality index: good, moderate, unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous, to study the impact of pollution on respiratory disease. What type of data is this? Option A, nominal data. Option B, ordinal data. Option C, interval data. Option D, ratio data. Option E, discrete data. Anyone?
Ordinal data?
Yes, option B, ordinal data is right answer. MCQ number 2 is a hospital administrator wants to analyze patient record to determine the most common reason for hospital admissions in the past year. Which type of data classification does this analysis involve? Option A, nominal data. Option B, ordinal data. Option C, continuous data. Option D, interval data. Option E, ratio data.
Ratio data?
No, option A, nominal data. MCQ number 3 is our researcher is studying the effect of the new drug on the blood pressure. Patient blood pressure reading in millimeter of mercury are recorded before and after taking the drug. Which type of variable is the blood pressure? Option A, qualitative variable. Option B, discrete variable. Option C, ordinal variable. Option D, continuous variable. Option E, nominal variable.
Continuous variable.
Yes,
Continuous.
yes, D is
Continuous
right.
variable.
MCQ number 4 is a medical researcher want to analyze the relationship between smoking status, smoker or non-smoker, and the incidence of the lung cancer. What type of variable is smoking status? Option A, continuous variable. Option B, ordinal variable. Option C, nominal variable. Option D, ratio variable. Option E, discrete variable.
Ratio variable.
No, it's nominal variable.
Discrete.
It's nominal variable.
Ordinal?
No, it's not ordinal. It's nominal variable. Smoker or non-smoker.
Nominal.
A clinical study records the number of the hospital visits made by diabetic patient in a year. Which type of variable is the number of hospital visit? Option A, continuous. Option B, ordinal. Option C, discrete. Option D, nominal. Option E, interval variable.
Discrete.
Yes, discrete is the right answer. MCQ number 6 is a medical researcher conduct a study where they collect blood samples from 500 patients to analyze glucose levels. What type of data is this? Option A, secondary data. Option B, categorical data. Option C, primary data. Option D, nominal data. And option E, interval data.
Primary data.
Yes, primary data is the right answer. MCQ number 7 is a public health officer want to assess the trend of cardiovascular disease in the last decade. They retrieve patient record from the hospital databases and government health report. What type of data they are using? Option A, primary data. Option B, experimental data. Option C, observational data. Option D, secondary data. And option E, cross-sectional data.
D.
Option D. Secondary data.
Secondary data.
Secondary data.
Yes, secondary data. A researcher is studying the effect of the exercise on heart disease. However, smoking is also linked to both exercise level and the heart disease. What role does the smoking play in this study? Option A, independent variable. Option B, confounding variable. Option C, dependent variable. Option D, direct variable. Option E, controlled variable.
D.
Confounding variable. Confounding variable.
Yes, confounding variable. MCQ number 9 is a study investigate the relationship between alcohol consumption and the liver disease. Researcher ensure that all the participants have a similar diet and lifestyle to reduce external influences. What is the diet in this study? Option A, direct variable. Option B, confounding variable. Option C, controlled variable. Option D, dependent variable. Option E, the indirect variable.
C, controlled variable.
Yes. MCQ number 10 is in a clinical trial, a new drug is tested for the effect on blood pressure. The amount of the drug given is fixed and changes in blood pressure are recorded. What type of variable is blood pressure here? Option A, confounding variable. Option B, dependent variable. Option C, independent variable. Option D, direct variable, indirect variable. Option E, control variable.
Dependent variable.
Indirect variable.
Yes, option B, dependent variable. This is key of my MCQs. These are references of my presentation. This is a YouTube link of our channel where all our presentations are uploaded. Kindly like and subscribe. And thank you.